Let us now take a look at a program where we're going to find the sum of rows and the sum of columns of a matrice. So let us say I have a matrix A with the maximum capacity to store 5 rows and 5 columns. I have R sum which will store the value of the row, sum of the rows, C sum which will store the sum of the columns. I and J are indices, R and C stand for the number of rows and columns of this particular matrice which a user may decide to enter. First, I'm going to ask the user enter the order of the matrix. R is the number of rows, C is the number of columns. Then what I'm going to do here is using the normal loop, I am going to read elements into the matrix. So let us say I read 1, 2, 3 and 4. What this program is really trying to achieve is it should give me the sum of rows. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 4 is 7. This is the first part. Second part is sum of the columns. 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 2 is 6. So it's asking us to find the sum of rows and the sum of columns. In our example, R is 2, C is 2. So let me write this. R is equal to 2, C is equal to 2. Now, first, I shall go about calculating the sum of rows. Sum of row is quite easy, but you have to be careful that you don't forget to initialize this to 0 at the beginning of each row. So what I am doing here is I am taking a variable called as row sum, initializing it to 0. Initially I is 0, j is also 0. So row sum is equal to 0 plus a of ij. A of ij is 0, 0 is what? This is 0, this is 1, this is 0, this is 1. Alright. So 0th row, 0th column is 1. Okay. So it is 0 plus 1. So it is 0 plus 1. Then I increase j. J ends up becoming 1. 1 is still less than 2. So I come here. Row sum is 1 plus a of I. A of I is 0th row, first column, which is j is 1 now. 0th row first is 2. So now what happens is on this side I am getting 3 printed. J is increased by 1. J ends up becoming 2. 2 is not less than 2. So I go back to this particular loop. Once I go back, I ends up now becoming 1. I ends up becoming 1. J goes back to 0. But before that, I ended up making row sum 0 for the next row. So I make it 0 for the next row. Then it is row sum is 0 plus a of ij. I is 1. 1 0 happens to be 3. Then this is 3 plus again row sum is I. J is increased by 1. J becomes 1. 1 1 refers to 4. So this is row sum old value 0 plus 3 plus 4. So this is now equal to 7. J is equal to 2. When j is equal to 2, 2 is not less than 2. So I finish that particular stuff. But one thing I just forgot to mention, after I calculate the row sum, at the end of this for loop, I am printing the sum of this row 3. Now, for this particular fellow whose sum is 7, I am printing sum of row number I plus 1. I is 1. Because human beings don't count row 0, row 1. We count it as row 1, row 2. That is why I am adding 1 to I. So when I am adding 1 to I, it will say sum of row number 2 is equal to row sum. So it will print this 7 now. So this way I have found out the sum of rows. Let's go about now trying to find the sum of columns. It should not be any different. It's in fact easy. Just you have to be careful about one aspect. What I am doing here is just I had row sum. I have a variable called as column sum. I initialize it to 0. But if I am finding the column sum, this should not be less than rows. This should be less than columns. This should be less than rows. I need to interchange the condition here. Instead of R, this becomes C. Instead of C, this becomes R. In this case, it does not make a difference because it's a square matrix. But if the number of rows and columns are different, then this will work in every case. So column sum is 0. Okay. So what is happening now is I is 0, J is 0. 0, 0 happens to be what? This particular fellow. So it is 0 plus 1. Now I'm increasing j by 1. It becomes 1. But j now represents the row. So what is it? It represents this particular 3. J is 1 and I is 0. 1 0 is this particular fellow. So 1 plus 3 happens to be 4. Now it should print this sum 4. So I am saying sum of column number 0, I is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. Sum of column number 1 is equal to, it should be C sum, not R sum. It should be C sum, column sum, not row sum. Column sum, which happens to be 4. Okay. So now this is 4. Now what I'm doing is I'm again increasing the value of I by 1 because J becomes 2. It fails and it goes back here. Once I becomes 1, what am I doing here is J is back to 0. 1 and column row number. Okay, let's go back to this one. What is C sum? C sum is back equal to 0. C sum is back equal to 0. Row number 0. Row number 0 is this. I is 1. So this particular position 0 plus 2. Then J becomes 1. 1 is less than 2. I again come back here. 0 plus 2 plus Ji. J is now 1. First row, and what is it? I is also 1. So it's adding 4 to it. So this becomes equal to 6. So if you see here, this is correct. This is correct. We have got 6 and we have got 4. This is 4 and 6, which is the same. Now I am going to print out sum of column number 1 plus 1. Sum of column number 2 is equal to 6. So this is a simple program to find the row sum and column sum.